Hello, my friend. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Ivy Whispers ASMR, and I have another Choose Your Own Adventure book today. This is Dungeons & Dragons Endless Quest, The Mad Mage's Academy by Matt Forbeck. And in this adventure, you are the rogue. You have been tasked with stealing the spellbook of Halaster, the mad mage who controls Undermountain, in order to wrestle it from where it is hidden inside Dweomercor, the secret academy on level 9. You must navigate your way in by posing as a new student. From there, locate the spellbook, steal it, and get away, all before the Mad Mage can get his hands on you. So this is a deadly heist of knowledge. Once again, I have read only the very beginning in order to make sure that we don't get defeated within the first few minutes. Other than that, I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to find out together. You're an idiot. Well, you're a great thief. The kind of swashbuckling rogue bards might someday sing epic ballads about. But recent events point to the fact that you may not be as sharp as even the knife in your belt. Fact number 1. You agreed to steal something from the Mad Mage Halaster, one of the most dangerous wizards ever to darken the Sword Coast. Most thieves would have turned down the gig at the first mention of Halaster's name, but you didn't hesitate to accept your mission for even a second. Fact number 2. The thing you agreed to steal was Halaster's spellbook. As powerful as the Mad Mage is, the theory goes his spellbook must be crammed to bursting with pages filled with notations and the secrets behind his most amazing spells. Fact number 3. According to the person who hired you to steal that spellbook, it's safely hidden away in Dweomercor, an academy the Mad Mage has set up so he could train the next generation of evil wizards to work for him. Fact number 4. The Mad Mage's Academy is located on the 9th level of the massive dungeon known as Undermountain, which ripples through Mount Waterdeep all the way from the magical metropolis of Waterdeep that sits atop it down to the roots of the mountain itself. That's enough to convict you of being foolish for sure, if not outright stupid. Still, you took the job, because you think you might be able to pull it off. And if you do, you'll make yourself a legend throughout Waterdeep and beyond. You came up with a plan so crazy it might just work. You decided to sneak your way into Dweomercor by posing as a wizard who's interested in studying at Halaster's academy. Once you get through the door, you hope to find the spellbook, snatch it, and run off with it before anyone's the wiser. With luck, you'll be back in Waterdeep, rolling in gold and glory before the Mad Mage even knows his favorite spellbook has gone missing. So far, so good. You started at a water-deep inn called the Yawning Portal for the giant well in his basement that leads straight into the Undermountain. From there, you worked your way down to the legendary dungeon's 9th level, doing your best to avoid any other sorts of entanglements, no matter how tempting they might have been. And now you find yourself standing outside the entrance to the Mad Mage's Academy. You walk down the hallway until it opens into a large room with a high arched ceiling, covered from one end to the other with bright mosaics. You squint up at images of wand-wielding wizards engaged in stunning magical duels. A withered, disembodied hand, severed long ago from its owner, and now floating before you in midair, points at you as you enter the room and motions for you to stop. Not wanting to see what the hand might do to you, you comply. And here is the hand. Floating, withered, disembodied. Fascinating. A moment later, a man with a long mane of white hair and an even longer and bushier white beard sweeps into the room. "I'm Halaster Blackcloak, Master of Dwermercor," he says. "Welcome to my academy. What business might you have here?" You point up at the hand still floating in the middle of the room. What's the story behind that? Halaster chuckles to himself. That belonged to a wizard named Manshun. He thought he was a much better duelist than it turned out was true. Now answer my question. Why are you here? Isn't it obvious, you say with as much panache as you can muster? I'm a young wizard in training, and I'd like to apply to study here at your academy. The mage narrows his eyes at you, madness dancing in his pupils. You don't look much like a wizard, whatever that means. Are you absolutely sure about that? We have 3 choices. We can charge into the school, we can attack Halaster, and we can apply to the school. We're going to try to be smart about this and apply to the school. Turning to page 17. Here's that hand again. Of course I'm sure, you say. What young wizard wouldn't want to study under the legendary Halaster Blackcloak? I consider it an honor that you didn't vaporize me the moment I crossed the threshold to your school. Halaster strokes his beard, amused. The day is still young. You laugh off the implied threat and hope you don't sound as nervous as you are. So what do I need to do to get started, you ask? Cast a spell? Kill a monster? Go on a quest? We don't bother with such things here, Halaster says. We simply administer a test to see if you're good material for our academy. You nod, hoping that you can somehow skip that part, as you don't know how well you're going to be able to fake being an actual wizard. If you're going to bluff your way through this, though, you can't show an instant's hesitation. When do we get started, you ask? Halaster waves, and the hand floating above him retreats to a distant corner of the room. I'm sure you've had a long journey and would like to freshen up. We want to make sure you're rested and sharp before we administer the exam. You wouldn't believe how many people fail after insisting that they're absolutely fine and ready to start right away. do yourself a favor and accept our hospitality. It's freely offered and given with no strings attached. The wizard's tone tells you he won't allow you to say no, despite how much you'd rather not get settled in. If you unpack your things, then you'll have to gather them up again before you leave, or just abandon them, which you'd rather not do. Despite that, you give him a grateful nod and gesture for him to lead the way into the school. If you insist, you say. And here on this page, we have a picture of Halaster, the Mad Mage. He certainly looks dark and foreboding, does he not? If you insist, you say. Halaster snorts, and then turns to usher you back through the door via which he entered. You emerge into a long hallway that leads straight off to the east. Another hallway spurs off to the south, but he leads you past that to take the next turn to the right into another long hallway. This one is lined with 3 doors on either side and comes to a dead end. Halaster takes you halfway down the hall and opens the door on the right, then motions for you to enter the small room beyond. This hall features one of our 2 student dormitories, he tells you. Conveniently, this room is empty at the moment, so you can rest here. In fact, if you make it into the school, this room will be yours. Feel free to take as long as you like. I'm sure I'll be ready to go soon, you say as you slide past Halaster and into the room. It's a decent size and contains a bed, dresser, and chest, along with a desk and chair. Everything you'd need for your studies, if you happened to be an actual wizard. An ever-burning torch flickers above the desk, and a row of 5 tubes lines the wall nearest the door. Halaster notices you examining them. Those are part of our pneumatic tube messaging system. You can put notes in the proper tubes, and air elementals carry them where they're needed. The one labeled Headmaster's Office goes right to me. When you're ready to get started, just let me know. Thank you for your hospitality, you say as you stifle a fake yawn. I suppose the trip here really has tired me out. Halaster laughs. You're wise to take my advice, he says, before bustling from the room and closing the door behind him. You hustle over to the thick door and put your ear to it so you can listen to him leave. When you're confident that he's gone, you walk over to the bed and sit on it for a moment to contemplate your options. Halaster wasn't wrong. You are tired, but you have a job to do. The question is, how should you do it? Should you take a nap and wait for him to return to ask after you? Or should you take advantage of the fact that Halaster doesn't seem to be watching you right now, so you can wander around the academy without worrying about him looking over your shoulder? You stare at the door for a moment as you make up your mind. We can choose to wander around or wait. I feel like playing it safe. Let's wait by turning to page 28. You decide that Halaster was right. You've had a long enough day. Reaching the 9th level of Undermountain was a tremendous task all by itself, and you're beat. On top of that, it's not worth pushing your luck by exploring the academy on your own. Halaster might have a guard posted somewhere outside your room, or maybe even some kind of magical monitor. And you don't need to let him know that you're not who you seem to be. At least, not yet. have other chances to look around, you tell yourself, all in good time. You take your boots off and lie down on the bed. It's almost as comfortable as the rocky shelf you had to sleep on last night. But it'll do. After all, you're only going to shut your eyes for a few moments, right? It turns out you're a lot more tired than you think. You have no idea how much later it is when you awaken to a gentle knock on the door. Just a moment, you say as you shove your feet back into your boots. Grumbling silently to yourself, you scurry over to the door and throw it open. You fully expect Halaster to be standing there, ready to escort you away to take the entrance exam. Instead, a shaven-headed man dressed in a long red robe stares at you with dark, sunken eyes. While you've never met one of the red wizards before, you've heard all sorts of horrible stories about both them and the dangerous land of Thay from which they hail. The people of Thay live under the rule of a powerful group of wizards, overseen by the evil necromancer Tam. It only makes sense that one of them might wind up here to study under the Mad Mage. The man regards you with an unforgiving stare, sizing you up as if you were nothing more to him than cattle. "Can I help you?" you ask. He purses his lips and nods. That really is the question, isn't it? "My name's Nihilus Jowd," the Red Wizard says, "and I have a proposition for you." You step back and gesture for the man to enter the room so you can speak privately, but he holds up a hand to refuse the kindness. "We can surmise that you want to attend the academy." "That's a fair assumption," you grant with a nod. "Unfortunately, the classes are full at the moment," Nihilus says with a scowl. "Full of horrible people. People who shouldn't be here at all." "What do you mean?" Nihilus glances around before leaning forward and speaking in a conspiratorial whisper. "Most of the students here aren't even... well," he looks at you and realizes you might not sympathize with what he's about to say. "The point is that the only way for you to gain admittance to the school would be for one of them to disappear. I can help you make that happen. You don't want to get involved in such drama, but if it helps you find the spellbook you're after, you'll give it a shot." "I'm listening," you encourage. "There are 2 girls here, twins, tieflings, half-demonic things. They don't even want to be here. Get rid of them, and a spot should open up for you." We have 3 choices. Play along with the plot, for now, refuse to help, or attack Nihilus. Let's play along, see what he has planned. Page 31. "That sounds like a fine plan," you say to Nihilus, "but what's in it for you?" Nihilus smiles, impressed by your suspicions. "Those 2 tieflings have been a thorn in my side ever since they arrived. If you take them out, you'll be making this a much pleasanter place for me to study." "And if I fail?" Nihilus shrugs. "Then I pin your demise on them and try to get them expelled for that." "So, it works for you either way, but it might go poorly for me. That's the chance you took when you came here to apply to the academy. You should be happy I decided to take you under my wing." The man turns and walks down the hallway, back the way you originally came. Following him, you come to a T-junction, at which he leads you to the right and escorts you to a well-lit room at the end of the hall. As you creep closer, you see a young tiefling, a person of demonic descent, hunched over a desk, copying lines from a book. Nihilus gives you a wink. "I'll leave you to your work," he whispers. Then he walks away. You creep up behind the tiefling, who doesn't appear to notice you at all. All those years working as a thief in Waterdeep serve you well when it comes to padding silently across a floor. It would be simple to just slip the point of your blade between the young wizard's ribs. She'd be dead in an instant, but needless killing has never really been your style, and frankly, you'd rather avoid it if you can. After all, what if Nihilus is setting you up to fail? If you kill the tiefling, will Halaster hold that against you? Might he not kick you out of the academy? As you hesitate, the tiefling puts down her writing quill and squirms in her chair, restless. "Well," she says aloud, "are you going to try to kill me or not?" "Maybe you're not quite as quiet as you think." "How long have you known I was here?" "You're actually a pretty good sneak," the tiefling says, "but Nihilus tromps about here like an elephant." "Otherwise he'd probably have killed you himself, right?" you say. The tiefling turns and glares at you with bright red eyes. "So," she says, "what's it going to be? Do we get rid of her, or do we talk to her?" "I think I want to talk to her, see what she has to say." Turning to page 75. "Your fellow student Nihilus brought me here to kill you," you tell the tiefling. "He says it's the only way to open a space for me at this school, but I'm willing to entertain the idea that he might have been lying." The tiefling spits on the ground in disgust. "And they say that my people are fiends. Nihilus has done more harm to people here in the last few weeks I've known him than my twin sister and I have done our entire lives." "Is what he said true?" She glares at you. "And what if it is? Does that mean you're actually going to try to kill me now?" "Would I really have a chance?" "Let's not find out." She shakes her head at you. "Nihilus isn't entirely wrong. He's pulled it on before and it worked out just like he said. Halaster likes to pit the students against one another." You glance around the room. "Why?" "He says he does it to make it tougher. To make us tougher. To transform us into the kinds of wizards who have a chance to survive out there in the real world." "But you don't believe that," you can tell from her tone. "I think Halaster set up this school as a kind of flytrap for wizards. He tells you he's going to make you into one of the greatest wizards of all time, but instead he uses this place to distract us from real studies, the kinds of things that might make us a challenge to him." You think this whole place is just a scam. A part of you is impressed that someone as powerful as the Mad Mage would go to such elaborate lengths to sucker people into studying with him. But doesn't that make more sense than the idea that an all-powerful wizard who controls Undermountain would take the time to set up a school of wizardry out of the goodness of his heart? "I just want to leave and bring my sister with me." She lets loose a sigh so deep her shoulders slouch from the effort. But Halaster isn't about to let that happen. Not without a fight, and that's a fight we can't win. "I don't want to be a student here either," you tell her. "Maybe we can help each other out." "How do you mean?" she asks, both suspicious and hopeful at the same time. You hesitate, weighing what it would mean to bring someone in on the real purpose of your presence here. Maybe she could help, but maybe she'd just stab you in the back and take the book for herself. You decide to risk it. I'm here to steal Halaster's spellbook. You're not a wizard, she says, surprised. You shake your head. I'm a thief. Someone hired me to steal the book. I just need to find it and get out of here. Would you be willing to take my sister Turbulence and me with you? Your sister's name is Turbulence. You ask, what is yours? Violence, she answers. You're not sure what to make of that. They sound dangerous, but what else can you do? If you can help me, then I don't see why not, though I'm not sure what I can offer that the two of you couldn't do for yourselves. She considers this for a moment before giving you a serious nod. All right, she says, let's do it. We can worry about the logistics of getting out of here later. Okay, you concede. Where to? Violence points at the door in a quarter of the room. That's Halaster's quarters. His spellbook has to be hidden in there. If you say so. This seems a little too easy to you. Violence senses your hesitation and frowns at you. You swear to me that you'll help get us out of here? You have to give me your word. You'd take the word of a thief you just met? At this point, I don't see how we have much choice. If the spellbook's right here, you're not sure you need Violence's help. On top of that, there's always the chance she might be lying to you. Maybe the spellbook's not there at all. Or maybe she'll try to take it for herself. We can push past Violence into Halaster's quarters, ignore Violence and move on, or accept Violence's deal. I'm feeling a little restless. Let's push past her and burst into his quarters. Page 56. If Halaster's spellbook is behind that door, then I don't need your help to find it, you tell Violence, who gawks at your bold betrayal. Your conscience nags at you, but not boldly enough to make you change your mind. You have a job to do, and helping a couple of young wizards to escape from someone only marginally more evil than them isn't part of it. Good luck to you and your sister, but you're on your own. You push past the shocked tiefling, and she doesn't raise a finger to stop you. Then you crack open the thick oaken door and slip through into the room beyond. This puts you in an entryway that faces onto a round room with a high ceiling. A set of pneumatic tubes stands against the left wall, and a wide desk stretches across the far side of the room. A life-sized statue of Halaster looms over a tall, ornately carved chair, sitting behind the desk. Before you even have a chance to start looking for the spellbook, the door slams behind you, making a sound as loud as a crack of thunder. You spin around, realizing you've made a terrible mistake. There aren't any other exits from the room, and you just left an angry tiefling outside the only door. Mess with me, will you? Violence shouts through the door. You think you can get away without paying a price? How about you pay this price? Wait, you say, hoping you can talk her out of whatever she has planned, which you're sure won't end well for you. She ignores you and starts screaming at the top of her lungs. Help! Help! There's an intruder here and he's broken into the headmaster's office. You try the door, but she's jammed it from the other side. It doesn't budge. There has to be another way out of this place. As you move into the round room, you see that the chair is covered with screaming faces, and they somehow launch into an unholy choir of agony that sounds even worse than Violence's incessant screeching. You fall to your knees, trying to block out the noise, but it seems to go right through the hands covering your ears. There's no escaping it. Not until Halaster flings the door open and finds you in his office. I thought I told you to wait for your entrance exam, the Mad Mage says as he storms into the room. You realize that you can hear him, which means all the screaming has somehow stopped. That tiefling tricked me, you tell him, hoping you can lie your way out of this. She shoved me in here and started screaming about me trying to rob you. Halaster arches a doubtful eyebrow at you. A tiefling, you say. Do you know which one? Violence. She said her name was Violence. The man frowns as he escorts you out of his office and sits you down at the desk where Violence once sat. A wizened old woman with dark blue skin and sharp, vicious teeth dashes in, the mummified skull of a cat dangling from the end of her necklace. A night hag, if you've ever seen one. And here is a picture of said night hag. I'm taking a head count, she says, throwing her hands into the air. I'm missing 2 of our students. Turbulence and violence? Halaster asks in a disappointed tone. Just the one. They've been eyeing the exits for weeks. I think they might have taken advantage of this, she points at you, flustered, distraction, and fled. So, does that mean there's room for me here, then? You ask, trying to put a brave spin on it. The night hag rubs her hands together and bares her teeth at you. Yes, but I'm afraid not as a student. You'll be a lot more useful in my laboratory. I always need another warm body. To help run your experiments, you say, with a nervous swallow. No, she shakes her head. As one of my subjects. The end. Well, I think it's safe to say that we were not successful in this quest any more than we were in our first one. Perhaps sometime I will read through one of these again, hoping to find the correct path to the correct finish. Until then, I'll see you next time. Goodbye, my